Hi guys, in this video we are going to talk about Gibbs sampling. If you haven't watched the previous videos in this series, I do recommend you do so, as I assume previous knowledge. Gibbs sampling arose from a paper of the brothers Stuart and Donald Geman, seen in the photos below. I think the right photo shows both of them together around the time of the paper, but I'm not sure if the left person is indeed Stuart. The simple idea in the paper stems from the fact that while joint distribution can be very hard to compute, the full conditionals are sometimes rather easy. The full conditional is the distribution of variable xi given all other variables. That is, we can ignore all other variables that aren't xi and treat them as known. How does this help us? Well, in a lot of cases we can identify the form of the distribution. For example, if when ignoring all other variables, we are left with an expression of the sort e to the power of minus x squared, we immediately recognize it's a Gaussian. And there are also other known forms. But also numerically, it can be rather easy to calculate a one-dimensional integral, even if we have to do it d times, than to calculate a d-dimensional integral. So the idea is to update each coordinate one at a time. You start at some random position, and each step you update one coordinate, given the values of all other coordinates. The original problem they were dealing with was also sampling from a Boltzmann or Gibbs distribution, particularly in the realm of image restoration. Because they tried to sample from the Gibbs distribution, they named their algorithm the Gibbs sampler, and so the name stuck. A much better name would be conditional sampling or full conditional sampling or something of that sort. Let's look at what problem they were dealing with. So the setup is that you have n pixels, each with L levels of grayness. Your sample space omega contains therefore L to the power of n different configurations, which can be quite a lot. Here's a small example. Suppose we have a 2x2 image with only 2 levels per pixel, white or black. We can write down this state mathematically like this. More generally, we think of the pixels as random variables x1 to xn, drawn from a joint distribution. The prior they assumed for this distribution was the Gibbs distribution. The energy function u was designed so that smooth images have low energy and noisy images have high energy. Since Gibbs distribution assigns a higher probability to lower energy states, smooth images become more likely. How did they define the energy function? Well, each pixel interacts with its neighbors, and this local interaction is described by a potential function v. So for this pixel, for example, we might only care about its interaction with the closest pixels. The total energy is then just the sum of all these local potentials across the image. In the way they set up the problem, the posterior was also a Gibbs distribution, but with a modified energy function. So they wanted to sample from these distributions, both in order to find the maximum probability using something called simulated annealing, and in order to calculate expectations. However, as we mentioned, the probability is too complex, mainly because we don't know the normalizing constant. It's equal to the sum over all possible states, which isn't feasible. But also, we have the sum over all neighborhoods, which can also be quite burdensome. If we move to the full conditionals, meaning we look at a single pixel at a time, then each pixel can only take L values, which results in a simple categorical distribution. Also, most terms in the energy function, those not containing x of s, will cancel out between the numerator and the denominator. So we don't need to consider all the pixels, only those in the surrounding neighborhood. The conditional becomes very simple, and we can denote it by this, where x superscript j is the state where all the pixels except the one in the S location are known and equal to whatever they are equal, and the S pixel is equal to the level j. The sum of the v's are only in the neighborhoods that contain x of s, and the sum in the denominator is only on L values. So this is a much more manageable computation. Anyway, this was their problem, but the algorithm can generalize to any multidimensional problem. And so the algorithm is as follows. Starting at a random position x0 and for as many samples as you'd like, iterate over the dimensions and sample a new point from the conditional of that dimension given all other dimensions. Add this point to be part of your sample. The claim is that under certain conditions that validate ergodicity, the samples we get are indeed from the joint distribution. Now, sometimes you'll see versions of this algorithm where you don't take each update, but only the final update after you sweep across all dimensions. This is the version shown in Wikipedia, for example. It doesn't really matter, it's akin to subsampling from the larger sample. In any case, in the original paper, at least how I read it, they used the version I stated before, where each dimension update is a new time step. But again, it doesn't really matter. I will show you one difference in the proofs in 1 second, but first, let's see how this algorithm actually looks like in practice. So we can see here a contour map of a 2D Gaussian with some positive correlation. And we see that the Gibbs is always traversing one coordinate at a time. First the x, and then the y, and vice versa. When we continue for a long time, the sample we get eventually is from the joint distribution of x and y. Now Gibbs sampling is quite simple, but you have to be careful as things don't always work out. Here we can see a counterexample. We have a mixture of Gaussians, but they are isolated from each other when it comes to the axis. Meaning, looking at the conditionals, we can only ever be in one Gaussian and never jump to the other Gaussian. Another failure mode also mentioned in the Wikipedia article is when global sampling can be better than conditional sampling. This can happen, for example, when you have a small region with high probability and a vast region of low probability. If we start at the low probability, we might get stuck there for a very long time. The example given in Wikipedia is of a 100-bit vector where one state, say the 0 vector, has a very high probability of half, and all the other states have equal probability. So suppose we start at a random vector, looking at each dimension separately doesn't make much sense, because the probability of both vectors considered, the one with the beat on or off, are equally small, and when looked at conditionally, each becomes equally probable with probability half. So the chance we'll actually manage to get to the 0 vector is very, very small, and we'll need many, many steps in order to get to it. But I think these kind of problems that I mention here are general problems of all MCMC algorithms. MCMC works well when you do have a good starting point close to the regions of high probability, and when these regions are somewhat connected. Okay, let's prove the claim we made before. Again, I'm not going to give a rigorous proof, but I am going to give some hand-wavy version. Let's start with detailed balance, and I'll do this for the 2D discrete and element-wise case. By element-wise, I mean we only look at one dimension at a time. Since we're moving in one dimension, let's assume without loss of generality that it's in the x dimension. And we are moving to a new x prime. The probability of moving there, since we are dealing with a discrete case, is simply the probability of the new point divided by the sum of all possible points we could have moved into. We are going to switch these two probabilities now, and we get these expressions. So we see detailed balance holds, and this means that the joint pi x of y is a stationary distribution of the chain. But in order for it to be unique, and in order for the chain to actually be a representing sample from this distribution, we also need to show ergodicity, meaning that the chain is irreducible, aperiodic, and positive recurrent. So, is the chain irreducible? Well, as we saw, it might not be, as in the separated islands example. So this is something we need to look out for when examining the joint. We could impose some conditions on the joint to guarantee that the chain is indeed irreducible, but I think it's better to simply examine each problem on its own. The chain is aperiodic since we can sample the current position in the conditional, so we can return to the same state in one step. And the chain is positive recurrent since we sample from a proper joint, so we can drift into infinity by moving across the conditionals. If we don't take the element-wise updates, but only the final update, then in that case, and when the order of the updates is fixed and not random, detailed balance might not hold. And here's an example. If the order is x and then y, and this is the joint distribution, then we can see that there's no way of moving from 0, 0 to 1, 1 in one sweep, since in the first move, when choosing between x equals 0 and x equals 1, we are forced to stay in x equals 0. But there is a probability of moving from 1, 1 to 0, 0 in one sweep, which actually is equal to 1 over 12. So detailed balance doesn't hold, but balance still holds. And I'll leave this as homework for you guys. It's rather simple. You can write the 4x4 state matrix and see for yourself. And actually, the proof in the original paper also shows balance, not detailed balance. Finally, I want to show that we can also think of Gibbs as a special form of the Metropolis-Hastings algorithm. Suppose our proposal distribution Q from the Metropolis algorithm is simply the conditional distribution. Then we get that the Metropolis-Hastings ratio becomes 1, and in that case, we always accept the sample. So, my final conclusion about this method is that it's definitely something to consider in certain problems, where the conditionals are simple or at least tractable, and we can avoid the edge cases. That's all for this video. See you in the next one.